this started. All of you today have signed up to gain perspective on our special guest Whitney A's topic, and it's taking back your time in the age of Corona. I am going to introduce this lovely woman to you all in a moment, and she is offering attendees a complimentary breakthrough session. There are limited spots, so please stay tuned until the end to get that URL for where you can schedule that exclusive complimentary session with Whitney A. And I will take a moment to introduce myself. I know I have personally been affected, by the coronavirus outbreak. And while I'm the manager of Needham Workbar, there was a point where we were all working from home. I had a thirst for learning how to create content, for creative projects for our communities, all the while, waiting for my build out to be complete here in Needham. My capacity to respond to pressure and the demands of the coronavirus really catapulted my skills of flexibility and stability of focus while learning a new skill. So, however, it wasn't easy, but I really didn't have any extra time. So as a full-time manager, needless to say, I'm so excited to learn about this topic, Whitney. I want to finally introduce our extraordinary guest here, Whitney A. White. This is really extra special to have her here. The coronavirus pandemic has made a world of a difference. People are finding it difficult to focus on priorities and getting things done. So if you're overwhelmed or concerned about achieving your most important goals, this session is for you. Her presentation today is definitely going to be leaving you feeling especially inspired to achieve your goals. And we also want to make sure that increasing performance is a goal for this webinar as well. So she also leads a coaching practice called Take Back Your Time, where she helps high achievers cut through the noise of the billions of things on their plates and get organized. So in general, if you'd like to learn more about Whitney A, you can find more information on whitneyaWhite.com. She is the founder of Afara Global, an innovation firm that guides startups, enterprises, and corporate teams through launching and scaling new products and services. So I would also like to let you know that Whitney A is an expert at the question and answer breakouts, so please don't be shy. She has a lot of valuable content here, and I'd like to ask the audience now to please submit any questions in Zoom and the Q&A. If you have anything in mind, we will take a few moments to answer. Outside Whitney's work, she is passionate about contributing to startup ecosystems and mentoring emerging entrepreneurs. She is a graduate of Davidson College, a co-founder of the Emergence Scholarship of Davidson Trust, and created the Davidson College Tech Impact Fellowship to encourage Davidson women and students of color to explore interests in computer science. Wow, Whitney, you presenting this topic is very generous and charitable because you have accomplished gazillions of cultural and academic lifelong dreams, and our audience will finally find a way to break through, their trying times, thankfully, from someone who is as qualified as yourself on this topic. So please tell us your story.
First of all, thank you for that really, really awesome introduction. Before we jump in, because I totally want to tell that story, I'm just so thankful for this opportunity. I'm super happy to be here, and I am very, very much looking forward to getting into questions and hearing from everybody and being able to dig in on this really, really important topic that's so important for folks, especially right now. I do just want to do a quick check-in with folks. If in the chat you can let us know, we want to make sure that you can see and hear okay. Just if you guys can let us know in the chat, so we can make sure if there are any issues, let us know. But to answer that question, Scarlett, I've always had this entrepreneurial bug. I started my first business when I was a little kid. I started a tutoring service way back in elementary school. And I ended up growing that business from the time I was in elementary school through to the time I went off to college. And I had dozens of clients. I was making several $1,000s as a kid, and I thought I was really hot stuff. It was very exciting. I could, pay for so many things myself. And, I felt like I was a mini grown-up, though my parents reminded me that I was not a grown-up. But I think that first experience with entrepreneurship kind of put it in my mind that I could have that kind of independence, that I could build a certain kind of, life for myself and pursue passions and interests and do things that I was really good at. And so that's what led me to starting my own business, Afara Global, back in 2011. I started my career, as you mentioned, at Bain & Company, doing management consulting, and then I got into tech. And basically, I just saw an opportunity. I said, I could start my own firm and I could do a lot of similar things to what I do for my big Fortune 500 clients. And I could work with startups and small businesses, social enterprises, and eventually with really big clients and help them launch and scale new products and services. So that's really what led me to start Afara Global. And thank you guys for letting us know that we're all good on audio and visual. Thanks.
Perfect. And what led you to create Take Back Your Time?
Yeah, I was kind of going along with my business Afara Global, with my innovation firm, and it was going really, really well, and I was enjoying it, and really had achieved this certain kind of equilibrium in a way in terms of my life. And yet I'm this person who I think I just always enjoy identifying problems and creating solutions. And so I recognized there was this trend that I was seeing with my super high achieving clients. They had a ton of potential. They were successful in their careers, but they had visions for even more. They had ambitions for even more that they could do. And so they would try to take on lots of different things. And because people could see their potential, their bosses at work would give them lots of responsibility. People in their lives would ask them for help with lots of things. They were just that person because they always been that high achiever, that high potential person where they ended up with a lot on their plate. And they had ideas for themselves, things other people were asking them to do, just everything. And what would happen was they were getting overwhelmed. They were getting so overwhelmed. They were caught up in this kind of hamster wheel, like going. And yet they weren't actually accomplishing those goals that were most important to them. And what was happening was that they were kind of spinning. They were doing a whole lot, but not necessarily getting exactly where they wanted to go. And so I said, I'm going to create a program to help these people. And my background academically is in anthropology, so I've always really just enjoyed interviewing, understanding cultural trends, understanding societal trends and underlying forces and reasons for things and structures and systems, and just like how culture and society impact the way we think and the things that we do and all of that, right? So I'd always been really interested in that, and I'd been interested in it from a business perspective. And so what I saw in doing these hundreds of interviews, talking to folks at different points in their careers, folks with different goals, but all like really ambitious people, was that they kept saying they didn't have time. That was the thing that kept coming up. They were saying, I'm so busy, I don't have time. I want to do this, but I don't have time. I want to do that, but I don't have time. I want to start this business. I want to get this promotion. I want to move into this new industry, but I don't have time. They were saying all of these things, but yet they were short on time. And what I realized was that it wasn't really about time. It wasn't really about time on the clock as much as it was about being really clear and focused on those goals that matter to them the most, having that clear step-by-step path of how to get there, and also having support and accountability to stay on track, right? Having the tools to really stay on track and make it a reality. So that's what led me to create Take Back Your Time. I said, I see a problem. I want to create a solution. And I just really enjoyed that process of going out, doing all those interviews, hundreds of people, building that curriculum. And then when I tested it, because I'm all about testing, I do a lot of lean startup in my innovation practice. I use a lot of that methodology. When I tested it, the outcomes were really awesome. And I said, wow, like this is something that is really, really helping people.
That is amazing, and thank you so much for that answer. Now, I have a interesting question. What have you been seeing as a result of this pandemic now? How is this affecting people?
Yeah, with the pandemic, honestly, it's exacerbated everything that was already there below the surface. So before the pandemic, I would have clients who were stressed out. They were trying to juggle a lot with work. Maybe they also had a side hustle, or they wanted to start a business, or they were already entrepreneurs. They wanted to spend more time with their families. They wanted to invest in dating if they weren't even dating. Like, they wanted to have a personal life. Some of them, felt like they didn't even have time for that, right? So they wanted to be able to take care of themselves, like, work out and make sure that they could be fit and cook and eat healthy and things like that. Since the pandemic, it's taken folks who were already feeling really stretched, really feeling like, okay, I've got a lot on my plate, can't do all the things I want to go to that next place. And it's just really exacerbated. Now it's like, can I get out of bed in the morning and like know that I actually can do this today? Can I actually manage all these things? There's that line between work and home that has totally just kind of blurred for folks. It's in a way one of the reasons why even having a space like what you guys do with Workbar, where you can even just like separate a little bit from it, is important for people, because what I've seen since the pandemic is just that sense of, okay, I watch TV on the couch, then I work on the couch. And then when do I actually get a break from everything, has really started to be overwhelming for folks. And then they just work more. People are just working more. There's less of a respect of boundaries, honestly. Like, management is strained and under pressure in so many industries right now. People are fortunate. They feel like, I'm glad I still have my job. I need to be able to show up and do a good job. So if I get this email at 9 p.m., okay, I still need to respond to it, all of those things. And then if you layer on a family, if you layer on anyone with kids, it's just a lot. I have a 7-year-old. I totally know what that's like. And it's just, folks between when they were homeschooling to now, oh, it's the summer, but the camps are canceled. And just feeling like, how do I think? How do I get space for me, just to be like able to sit and really think and pull away from everything, and it not just feel like this hurricane of just chaos. So the pandemic has definitely exacerbated the issues that people already had before. The other category of clients that I have are my small business clients. And for them, the pandemic has had that same effect that everybody else has in terms of life, work, home, everything coming together. But there's also, how do I keep the lights on, right? Like, how do I make sure that I'm able to, keep my employees, that I'm able to pay myself, that I'm able to keep this business afloat? And so in that work, it's been awesome to be able to use everything that I've been doing my whole career with businesses, and to be able to really dig in and help those small business clients as well.
Performance improvements everyone can benefit by. And during this corona economy, it's really hard for sometimes people to prioritize their things and put some things aside. So this is really, really important for us to dive right into, and I'm so excited. So I would love to be able to put myself on mute and have everyone zoom in on you, Whitney. We are looking forward to taking away some key takeaways from this. So if you have any questions for Whitney or for us during the time, you can submit those in the Q&A, and we will take a moment to answer at the end of the presentation.
Yes. Thank you. I am super excited to be able to dig in. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And while I do that, I do want to just highlight again, first of all, so thankful that you guys are here and that Workbar is hosting me. I'm excited to get into, and Scarlette knows this, I'm very action oriented. So I'm really excited to give you guys some very specific strategies that you can use right now in your actual lives. So I think you guys can all see my screen now. And So let's jump in quick reminder, we're a little ways in now, but just in case you guys, we don't get to your Q&A question, stick around because I want to get to as many of the Q&A questions as we can. If we don't, you can schedule this complimentary one-on-one with me at whitneyaWhite.com/time. There are limited spots, like Scarlett said. There are going to be limited spots there, but I'm looking forward to talking to whoever's able to grab one. So let's talk about what you're going to get out of these takeaways, okay? So I'm going to share the keys to build the life you've always dreamed of without running yourself into the ground. Move past other people's ideas of success and get on your own path to achieving those goals that matter the most to you. Avoid the trap of staying busy all the time without getting the things that you most want and need done. And enjoy your life now, as opposed to running yourself ragged with the hope that one day it'll all be worth it and you'll get to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. So, mistake number one that so many folks make, and we're going to go through the solution for this in terms of what you can do, is pride in busyness. So the first thing is to stop thinking working like crazy and being exhausted is some kind of badge of honor. This is important because many of us, I have been this person, like, so I totally get this. I have been this person, especially earlier on in my career, especially before I was, an entrepreneur working for myself. Many of you walk around exhausted, on the verge of burnout, and have this idealized view telling you that the hours of sleep you don't get are something to be proud of. And I'm just a plain talker, so I'm just going to talk plain. That's BS. We all know that when you are exhausted like this, when you are worn out, when you are stretched too thin, you're less efficient, you're less effective, your brain is cloudy, you're way more prone to mistakes. You're juggling so many different balls that at any moment they can all come crashing down. And if you keep doing this, then you'll stay trapped in that anxious feeling like everything could fall to pieces at any moment. Feeling like you're running, but never actually getting where you want to go. Instead of valuing incessant activity and busyness, prioritize outcomes. Ask yourself what you actually want to accomplish day to day, week to week, and put the focus on outcomes over activity. When you get off the hamster wheel and stop idealizing busyness and exhaustion, and instead focus on outcomes, you can stop being busy and start getting the most important things done. You can stop wasting energy and anxiety in that constant amped up state of keeping all those balls in the air. And you can actually slow down, achieve those goals that really matter, and experience the pride in accomplishing those things that you've set out to do. And I will tell you that pride in accomplishment is way better of a feeling than the pride in busyness. That pride in accomplishment is an amazing feeling because you'll know that you're finally living up to your full potential. So I'm all about examples. I'm all about helping you understand how to make this real. So I want you to meet the old Jessica. In her own words, she said, I had a lot going on. My day job, but also running essentially 5 different businesses on the side. So I had a lot going on, and for some reason, I thought I could fit it all. Unsurprisingly, it did not work. I didn't feel like I had enough time, but it was tough because I didn't feel like I could cut back on anything. So that was the old Jessica. And now the new Jessica. After she stopped wearing busyness as a badge of honor and made the shift to intentionality over busyness, she said, Whitney helped me get immense clarity about my goals in all aspects of my life, then strategically and rigorously align my time with my goals. The curriculum forced me to get real about how I was spending my time day to day, week to week, and make tough decisions about how to align my most valuable resource, time, with those goals that were really most important to me. I've now taken huge steps to advance my business while making time for priorities in my personal life. And now, hear from Jessica about how making the shift to focusing on accomplishing those things she really wanted and not just being busy was life-changing for her.
I realized in doing the program that Whitney asked questions about my desires and my dreams and my goals that no one had ever asked me before, right? People will talk to you professionally, at work, oh, what do you aspire to do, whatever. Your family will talk to you about, why you don't have any kids yet. And, but no one talks to you about you, right? Like who you want to be. What do you want for yourself? Not just for your career or for your family, but what kind of life do you want to live? Like what feels right, what feels authentic to you? And being able to have those conversations with someone who also had the skills to help you formulate a plan to get there was just invaluable.
Number 2, stop feeling like you have to do every single thing that ends up on your to-do list. As high achievers, we can sometimes get obsessive. I totally have been this person. I was this person about feeling like we need to complete everything, feeling like we can't ever leave anything undone. What this leads to is a mile-long to-do list that makes us feel like we're always behind and there's never any hope of catching up. We all intuitively know that some things are more important than others. But when we're trapped in this never-ending to-do list, often we're throwing time away because we're doing things on that to-do list that are not even important, but they just somehow ended up on that list. When you're walking around like this, it's frankly plain old depressing. You're spending time on things that aren't really important to you, and you start to feel hopeless, like there's no end in sight. Even worse, you end up feeling like you have no real control or power over your own time. X the low-value tasks off your list. Simply do not do them. When you break free from that old mindset, you'll realize that not everything on your to-do list absolutely has to get done. And you'll realize that you want to be investing your precious time in the tasks that are truly most important for where you're trying to go. When you free yourself from the weight of having those low-value tasks hanging over your head, this will give you the brain space. We talked about how that is in such short supply right now. This will give you the brain space to focus on high priorities that really matter to you. Years ago, I kind of chuckled to myself when I first heard someone say brain space, and I thought, what is that? That's some kind of made up thing that's not even a real concept. Then I cleared away the noise of low value tasks and got my own brain space, and wow, what a difference it makes. Simply having less noise, fewer to-dos rattling around in your head makes an incredible impact. It frees you up to kick butt on the high priorities that really matter. Most of all, you'll start to feel empowered. You'll feel more in control and thus more in control of your overall life, not just your time. Now I want you to meet the old Emmanuel. Here's what he said. I was feeling completely overburdened with responsibilities at work and at home, and knew I needed to find a better way to balance them. I also wanted my work to feel more effortless and fulfilling. So that's the place where he was in his life. And now the new Emmanuel. The most important thing I learned is what I should be focusing on. That's helped me figure out what is simply noise in my life. I can be a lot more organized and responsive to clients when I'm not juggling a million things. Going forward, I have the tools to stay mindful about my workload and my commitments, and to remember to only focus on the things that make me happy or are critical to my goals. Also hear from Dr. Grant about how becoming more efficient with his time allowed him to invest in his passion projects.
I was really looking forward to and really gained the opportunity to create time in my schedule that allowed me to not only continue my day-to-day daily operations as a medicine resident, but also to really incorporate, the things that truly fueled me, as a clinician and truly fueled me as a person and the things that I was really, really passionate about. And so, after having completed the program, we still have the same amount of hours in the day. However, just being more efficient with those hours and being more efficient with, how I spent and planned my week was really, really helpful. And that's kind of one of the biggest things that I gained throughout the program. So, being able to continue to keep up the same day-to-day responsibilities, but still affording time for yourself in order to feed those passion projects that you're interested in.
Number 3, this is a big one. Get over feeling like no one else can do as good of a job as you can. This is another problem we high achievers have. Because you don't think anyone else can do as good of a job as you can, you're afraid to let go. You end up convincing yourself that you have to do everything yourself. Whoa, this is a dangerous place to put yourself in. Think of all that pressure. By making this mistake of thinking you have to do everything yourself, you walk around with the weight of so many responsibilities on your shoulders. Responsibilities at work, at home, everything is on you and it's suffocating. There's so much you feel like you have to do that you literally can't even catch a breath. Delegate. The idea that you are the only one who can get it done right is total BS. You are not the only competent person on the planet. Identify the right tasks to delegate and the right people to delegate them to. When you free yourself from this I have to do everything myself mindset, then you can reap the benefits of laser-like focus on those areas where you're able to add value in a truly differentiated way. That's what's going to get you closer and closer to your goals. This is an incredible place to be because you're going to start to feel focused. The feeling of focus might be a distant memory for many of you, right? You might be thinking, what is that, right? You might say, I don't know what that even feels like. I've always been so scattered. Well, I will tell you that focus is an incredible and super powerful feeling. When you feel focused, you can tackle so many big goals that are important to you personally, for the teams you lead, and for your entire organization. Focus is like a superhero type of gift. When you're focused, you can think clearly, be more creative, communicate more effectively. True focus feels like you're operating at your peak level and that nothing can stand in your way. The old Daryl was trying to do so much himself. Here's what he said. I think I underestimated that even if you enjoy what you're doing, it's still work. So I'd be like, oh, it's okay, I'm fine. So with my calendar, there are things I wished I could push off to team members, but not completely. So people still needed to check with me. And now the new Daryl. Whitney helped me get super clear on how to prioritize my goals and get rid of all the noise in my work and personal life. It's given me a complete mindset shift. And as a result, I think I'll be a better CEO and have the ability to drive my startup towards profitability. While that's always been our goal, after looking at how I spend my time currently, it became clear that that was undoubtedly going to take way longer than necessary, because I was wasting my time on things that matter, but don't make sense for me to be doing. As a result of the course, I feel a new zen, and I'm hype about the changes I have already made. Also hear from Harlan on the benefits he's gotten from better balancing his focus and the demands on his time.
I've been mindful of the ways that I balance the various demands on my time and the various demands on my attention and focus. And through that mindfulness and through consistent application of some of the very principles and frameworks that we introduce through Take Back My Time, I've been able to achieve higher satisfaction in both my personal life and in my professional life. And this has been something that's been truly valuable.
Mistake number 4, the last one. This is a big one. Stop believing you have to sacrifice your health, wellness, and happiness in the present in the hopes that it'll all be worth it at some point down the road. A lot of people are believing this craziness with really serious consequences, okay? This is the kind of thing that can lead to neglecting your physical health, neglecting your mental health, neglecting the relationships that are really important to you. If you sacrifice things that you can never get back, you are playing a dangerous game. Each of us is a whole person. We're not just our work or any one aspect of our lives. When we over-index on one aspect and neglect the others, that's a recipe for disaster. We end up feeling unfulfilled because there are parts of ourselves that we're not allowing to flourish. Even if everything looks great to folks on the outside, deep down, we know we're not fully happy, not fully satisfied, and that is a depressing feeling. Break out of the mindset that everything is important except your own happiness. Give yourself permission to prioritize your own happiness. Start believing that you actually deserve to be happy, and that's regardless of whether or not you got everything done on your to-do list that day. When you give yourself permission to be happy, you can make the kind of true life change that doesn't have you hoping and wishing for better days way off in the distance, but instead has you enjoying your life today, in the here and now, knowing that you stopped wasting time, are investing it in the ways you really want to be, and are accomplishing the goals that matter most to you in all parts of your life, all while prioritizing your own happiness. That feeling of freedom and fulfillment is truly priceless. It's why we get out of bed in the morning. No one wants to go through life working hard, grinding all the time, all to be miserable, to feel hopeless and unfulfilled. And the great news is that you don't have to. You can truly experience the kind of genuine joy that comes from freedom and fulfillment. Kwame was so stuck in that mindset of sacrifice, as if his life just had to be so hard. He'd fully bought into that sacrifice mindset, and here's where he ended up. Kwame said, "I had an anxiety attack and realized I'd hit a fork in the road where I needed to make a decision to take control of my life. I wanted to position myself to do what I wanted to do rather than reacting to a bunch of things coming my way that need to be done." And wow, hear from the new Kwame, who has taken control of his time and is both on the path to reaching his goals and also enjoying life day to day, time he could never get back. Kwame said, "I have made significant changes to how I approach my days. The process Whitney took us through has been extremely helpful in showing me where my time is going and where I want it to go. It also helped me face the myth I have told myself for years that I can essentially create time. I've now faced the reality that there is truly a limit to how much I can do in a given day. And I've decided that I want to be intentional about how I spend those precious hours." Also hear from Caroline about how she realized she didn't have to sacrifice the things she valued around health and wellness in order to pursue her passions.
and I just thought that there just wasn't enough time during the day to do my art. And I was almost at a point where I thought, well, maybe this just isn't the season for it. Maybe once my children are a little older, or once if I wanted to do this, I needed to give up other things like meditating and exercise and all the other personal things that I do for my health and wellness, which I didn't want to give up. And so it was a joy to know that I didn't have to sacrifice those things. I have a more methodical approach to not saying this or that, but it's this and that now.
Stop thinking, feeling, believing. Busyness, working like crazy, and being exhausted is a badge of honor. You have to do every single thing that ends up on your to-do list. No one else can do as good of a job as you can, so you have to do everything yourself. You have to sacrifice your health, wellness, and happiness in the present in order to get where you want to go in the future. So I just shared these 4 critical mistakes that are holding you back from building the life you want, and the steps I've personally taken to break those patterns and deprogram myself so I could build the life I really wanted. I've also shared real life success stories of folks I've worked with who've done exactly that. Now, let's dig into your questions. Reminder, we definitely want to cover as many of them as possible. In case we don't get a chance to answer your question, you can schedule time to chat with me one-on-one, or in case you just want to go to a greater level of detail, if you can snag one of these spots at whitneyaWhite.com. Limited spots, but whitneyaWhite.com/time. That's a special link for you guys that's not going to be on my website. All right, let's take a look at questions. Does that work, Scarlett, to get into questions?
Absolutely,
All
yes.
right.
I do see that we have one question here.
Yes, let's jump in and start with this first one.
So she asks, do you think that we should schedule most of our important to-do items at the start of the day?
I love that question because there are a few things in there that I want to unpack. One being, there's often this sense that there's kind of this external right way of doing things, right? I mean, we get that from the time that we're little kids, right? We get that from the time that we're super young. We go to school, we learn things, we're socialized to think that there's kind of an optimal way to do everything, basically, right? So what's really, really big for me is understanding what works best for that individual person. So the reason I say that is, and I'll give myself even as an example, because in this question, the person mentioned that, there's this biological time, and also, sometimes people might think they're more productive in the morning, or, that kind of thing, right? So I am not a morning person, okay? I am someone who, I have my own natural clock that has been the same for a very long time. I am not a morning person. It's shifted some over the years, but it's definitely such that I feel most natural going to bed sometime between 1 and 2. That's just who I am, and that's kind of how that's just how I operate. So for me, if I had to start my day with something that was really important at 10 o'clock, which sounds late to a lot of people, if I had to start my day at 10 with something that was super, super important, my brain would not even fully feel awake, because I like to get a full, 8 hours of sleep, at 7.5. Right now, I don't have to take my daughter to school, so I do get to stay up, honestly, later than when I had to take her to school. But I really, really encourage folks to think about what works best for you. So for my clients who are morning people, what we do is, we create a morning routine. I have clients who really like to get up at 6 a.m. And, if they are meditators, it's 6 a.m. and then meditate and work out, or, whatever those things are that really make them feel, energized and alive and just excited to start their day. And then whatever is really important that they feel like I don't have time to get to, I just can't find the time. Sometimes we do put that early in the morning, right? So I have one client right now who is in management consulting and is not really thrilled with their job right now. And so is thinking of like going back to school and wants to study for the GRE. So they have a very demanding job, like just very demanding job. They've got 2 kids, like super, super busy. One of the things that we've been able to do so that honestly they feel even more motivated to go through the day because they have so much work and balancing everything with the kids is give them time to be able to study at the very start of the day. Because studying for the GRE, like for me, I would feel like, oh gosh, I don't really want to do that. But for them, it's exciting because it helps them. They know they're getting to that place where they want to go. They know they don't want to stay in that job. They're getting to that next place. So they do that at the beginning of the day. There are other clients where we block out that time in the afternoon, depending on, just how they best work and what's going to work best for them. So what I would say overall to that is think of you personally and when you feel most alive, when you feel most productive, when you feel most creative, and make sure that you're devoting that time to what's really going to be moving you forward towards your goals. And we have another question. How much of taking back your time is realizing your priorities versus time management? Ooh, I love this question. A lot of times people do ask me, so you're a time management coach. I'm like, not really. Because all of what we just went through in terms of these key mistakes that folks are making, they all start here, right? They don't start on the calendar. They all start in the mindset, and then it plays out in the calendar. Then it plays out in the tools. So I would say that it's really a combination. It goes back to having that clarity of where do you really want to go? And that clarity honestly can be even difficult to get because we have so many voices. We have so many different places in our lives, whether it's our boss at work, whether it's our partner, whether it's our family, whether it's our friends, our network, our team members at work who are telling us the things that they need from us, telling us the things that they think should be important to us, right? We have so many people who are that voice. And so the very first and most important thing is being able to kind of break through that and understand what it is you really want. And then from there, you can start to build out the path and then use the tools. And I do give my clients very specific tools in the program, but the tools aren't going to help if you don't first have that level of clarity. So that's a great question because it really is a mix. So we've got another question. How would you approach juggling 2 high-paced remote jobs? Ooh, this is a perfect follow-up, right, Scarlette, from the one we just had. This is a perfect follow-up because you have to start with the goals. You have to start with the goals. I would say, let's start with where are you trying to go with your career and with your life? That's where we would start. Because if one of those jobs is going to get you closer to what you want in terms of your career and the bigger picture for your life, then we would prioritize that one more than the other. So it's not always going to be, oh, I have to do all of these things for this job and I have to do all the things for this job and they're exactly equal. It's going to be, what are the things that I really need to prioritize to get me where I want to go? And then as far as them being remote jobs, one of the things that can be so important with remote jobs is having structure in your day, right? Because you're not necessarily going into, the office where everybody's there and it's kind of easier to feel like, okay, I'm at work and this is the time that I'm doing work. With the remote jobs, that structure of, okay, this is the times when I'm going to be working on these priorities for the first job. This is the time when I'm going to work on these priorities for the other job. It takes into account the overall prioritization of what's going to get me closest to my goals. And also, I've carved out time for me. I've kind of put a ring fence around what is work and what is important to me outside of work. Because, often people think of that as kind of a luxury, like after work, then you set aside time for you. No, because you're better at your job. You're better at everything when you're taking care of yourself. It's just that simple. When you run yourself into the ground, it shows at work as well. You're not going to be as creative. When people ask you questions and there are problems to be solved, you're going to be slower in thinking in meetings. All of that stuff, if you're not taking care of yourself. So really, it goes back even to the previous question of time management versus prioritization. It's really a both and. It's starting with that clear goal, starting with the prioritization, and then applying the strategies around time management. And then I think we also have a couple questions in the chat. Awesome. Well, I want to touch on a follow-up to Sean's question. That is, what happens, when you have this increased workload, right? So maybe you had some structure, maybe, things were going okay, and then there's just so much more work. This is where it's really important to have those prioritization conversations with your team, with your managers, with your leadership, because sometimes we can feel like everything is all top priority, but that's not possible. It's not possible for everything to be the number one priority. So having those candid conversations where you can understand. So for instance, in a conversation with your manager, you might say, you've asked me to do these 5 things. I want to make sure that I am able to really deliver everything in the way that you want and at that level and on time for you. Can you help me understand what your priorities are across these 5 things? Let's say if we had to rank order them, what's number 1 for you? And then 2, if we could go through that, that's really going to help me so that I can make sure that I'm able to deliver everything at that top level. And then honestly, when you get to the 4th and the 5th on that list, push back a little bit. And you can say, well, I see that 1, 2, and 3 are super, super important priorities. I'm so confident we're going to knock this out of the park. I want to really be able to focus in on those because I know they're, maybe they said they have to present it to their boss or something, right? So I know that you have that meeting that's going to be coming up and you need this to be really tight. So what do you think about pushing off the deadline for number 4 by an extra week and then also doing the same with number 5? Because that's going to make sure that we're able to really deliver 1, 2, and 3 at that exact level where you want it. Do you see what happened there? Before having that conversation, you would be trying to deliver all 5 as if they were all super, super important. And the reality is when your boss ranked those for you and told you the greater picture of, well, I really have to have this for that meeting, and this is really important for that reason, you guys can work together to make sure you really prioritize the right ones. You maybe thought that the one that was number 1 for them was just in the middle of the pack somewhere, right? And so having that kind of communication is so, so important, especially when you feel like, oh my gosh, I have all this work and it's all so important and I'm like going to get burnt out. The communication is key. And think of it as a partnership. You're having the same goals. They want you to deliver, you want to deliver. Let's talk about how we can best do that. And then we have, I think, one more question, which is awesome because I think we'll have time for that one before we wrap up. So I make myself a task list each morning and have to do certain things each day so the business keeps running. With no one to delegate some of the work to, should those rainy day tasks be done at night or weekends or get a part-timer to handle the daily routine tasks? Okay, I am a big believer in delegation and outsourcing, even if you're a solopreneur, even if it's just you. And this is so important because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we can spend too much time working in the business and not on the business. When we're spending all our time just getting everything done in the business, we can't think strategically. We can't think about what's that next big opportunity. What's that opportunity that's going to push me to that next level? What's going to bring the extra revenue in the door, right? Because if you're doing all of these types of daily routine tasks, and honestly, even the way you describe them, right? Routine daily tasks, that screams low value. That doesn't scream put it on the weekends or at night when I want to be enjoying my life. That screams low value, get someone else to do it. Because that time that you have on the nights and the weekends to recharge, to take a step back, to invest in yourself, that's going to make you more creative. That's when you're going to get those ideas. You're going to be in the shower one day, and because you're not in a hurry, you're going to take an extra long one. And you're going to get the idea that's going to help you take your business to the next level. And you will have the time to execute on that idea, because that's a big thing, right? We might have the ideas, but do we execute? You will have the time to execute, to prioritize that, because you got those low value tasks off your list and delegated them to someone else. And that's important. As a business owner, we cannot spend all our time in the business doing the work. We have to be thinking strategically so we can move our business forward and be able to bring in the projects, the revenue, the sales, all of those things that are going to take us to the next level.
Whitney, thank you so much for answering those questions the way that you did. You hit every solitary point. And we would just like to wrap up here. What are the 3 key takeaways and what everyone should know and what they can use during this time, especially during the Corona economy, to take back their time?
I'm going to cheat a little and give them 4, but it's the biggest things I want you guys to take away are: stop feeling like, yeah, I just have to be busy all the time. Stop feeling like, oh yeah, I'm not sleeping, I'm not doing this, I'm just busy and this is just what it is, and kind of feeling like you have to be that way, and being kind of proud in all the activity and not the accomplishment. Stop doing that. Focus on the outcomes of what you really want to accomplish, not the tasks. Number 2, get rid of those low value tasks. Just because it's on your list, just because it's on the task list, does not mean that it has to be done. There are certain things that you can just X off. This is one of my favorite parts of the week. Every week I look at my calendar and I'm like, what can I just get rid of? What can I just not do? I get so excited. Just get rid of them. There are things that you're doing that just don't even need to be done. Find those things. It's the treasure hunt. Number 3, delegate, delegate, delegate. Don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. Find the people, even if there's no one below you. Think of, hey, is this something that just is not for me? This is something that someone else could do. This is something that might be a growth opportunity for someone else, right? Find that way to delegate. And 4thly, prioritize your happiness, prioritize your joy. Nothing is promised. We all have no idea how much time we have on this earth. Enjoy your life now. Don't have this idea that eventually, one day, I'll be able to enjoy my life. Don't sacrifice your health, your wellness, those relationships that are important to you, thinking one day. Enjoy your life right now. Those would be the 4 key takeaways. I snuck another one in.
Thank you so much, Whitney. And remember to schedule your complimentary session with Whitney A at whitneyawhite.com/time. That URL you can take to lead you to that special calendar specifically for those who want to schedule a session with Whitney, and there is very limited space, so keep that in mind. Whitney A. White is the founder of Afara Global, and we are so happy to have you. Please come back, Whitney.
Thank you for having me, Scarlett. You're so great. You're such an awesome host. I have so enjoyed working with you on this, and I love the questions, guys. I'm so thankful for these awesome questions so we can have such a robust discussion. Thank you to Workbar and to you, Scarlett.
Yes, thank you so much. And for more on Workbar Live and to join as a panelist, such like Whitney, you can email marketing@workbar.com. And I just want to say to everyone, thank you for joining. Be safe, stay productive, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.